All right, two, one, go. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the new off-season slash season of the host of the Steelers with Talk to Sports and the host. Start with host. We haven't really talked in a little bit since, the end of the season. How's your off-season going so far?
So far so good. Just keeping track of all the latest NFL news and source. Obviously, we just had the draft, so we're gonna talk about that. We got the schedule gonna be released next week, so we'll be able to discuss that after next week. But just relaxing, looking forward to the season as we gear up here for the summer.
Yes, yes, yes. First topic I wanted to get your opinion on the new Steelers QB room, which is comprised of starting quarterback Russell Wilson, backup quarterback Justin Fields, third string quarterback Kyle Allen, and undrafted free agent quarterback John Rice Plumlee. Um, yes, what do you think about the new Steelers quarterback acquisitions?
Well, just to go back to last season, Alex, I still can't believe they got rid of Kenny Pickett. I mean, I thought for sure they were going to give Kenny Pickett another chance, a third season with new OC Arthur Smith. I guess his attitude was pretty bad at the end of last season, from what reports say. We don't know what's true and what is, fake news out there. But I guess his attitude towards the end of the season with, Mason Rudolph was pretty bad. The Steelers didn't like it, so they decided to move on. And lo and behold, I was hoping they would get Justin Fields. They did. I was not expecting them to go get Russell Wilson, and so I'm more of a fan of Justin Fields from you and I, chatting back and forth. I don't really know what I know. They got Russell Wilson very cheap. Denver's picking up the tab on or like 30 some million of his salary. I know that he's capable. He had 28 touchdowns last year or 26 touchdowns last year. I know he's very capable of leading this offense, but I would have rolled the dice and went with Justin Fields. That kid clearly was becoming better at the end of last season. Showed way improvement when he came back from injury down the stretch. Uh, I don't know personally. I liked the Russell Wilson. I get what they're trying to do, but after this season, what are you going to do? Are you going to hand over 40 some $1 million a year for Russell Wilson, or you could pay Justin Fields a lot cheaper? So
Yeah.
it's kind of a hearsay. How the season's going to go. I mean, we're just talking about it now, but I can't wait for the season to start to see what happens.
Yeah. Um, well, I think one of the reasons they picked up Russell Wilson was because technically they were unsure if Justin Fields was available, and also they wanted to wait to try to drive his price down a lot, which they ended up giving up a conditional pick, only giving up a conditional pick for him. And I think they want to start Russell Wilson for a year, and who know, it might end up just being a 1 year loan for Russ Wilson and then move on to Justin Fields. It just depends how good how what, how good they think he's progressing. Uh, but I think it's good they give him a year to like get acclimated with the franchise and try to fix some of the bad habits he has because he does have a tendency to turn the ball over a lot. So they're gonna try to balance his strengths with his weaknesses and try to get the Chicago Bears out of him and just like show him how to lead a real uh franchise.
I like that. Get the Chicago Bears out of
Um, Steelers also had new coaching changes. Obviously firing Matt Canada mid-season. Then they said they weren't gonna consider um, Eddie Faulkner or Sullivan as offensive coordinators. They ended up getting former last year head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Smith, to be their offensive coordinator. It is interesting because at the time it kind of seemed like a move to help out Kenny Pickett because Arthur Smith kind of saved Ryan Tannehill's career when at Tennessee, and they're kind of comparable players. But now they don't have Kenny Pickett, but it still kind of works out with these better QBs as well and the strong run game the Steelers want to implement. What are your thoughts on the Arthur Smith hiring?
Well, we finally got a real OC with some history of what he's done in the past. Obviously, he got Ryan Tannehill back on his feet. Elevated Derrick Henry to one of the top running backs in the league. Had a pretty decent passing game. Remember, AJ Brown was down in Tennessee, so Arthur Smith knows how to run an offense. The problem is in today's NFL, it's a lot more passing, and Arthur Smith loves to run the football. And you can see from the draft what the Steelers plan on doing. Najee Harris, Jaden Warren, they're going to be running the football a lot. The only thing I don't like about the Arthur Smith is he kind of not used Kyle Pitts in Atlanta, and we have a pretty good tight end in Pat Fryermuth. So I'm curious to see when Arthur Smith takes over the Steelers offense and they start to, begin the season and we go from week to week, how valuable he uses Pat Fryermuth in the offense. Obviously, Pat Fryermuth is a good downfield tight end, can make catches, can make combative catches, can score touchdowns. I hate to see a talent like that go to waste in Arthur Smith's offense, but just be prepared. We're going to run the ball, and run the ball. And I think that's what Mike Tomlin wants to do too. He wants to keep the defense off the field as much as possible and rest it up for the end of the game so they can gear up and make some stops at the end of the game. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be much better. It's going to be much controlled. And I think if people are looking for a big improvement in points scored, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I probably the offense will be more efficient. We won't have as many 3-and-outs as we did last year. That's what I think is the main goal here in this, hiring of Arthur Smith.
I feel like they will end up scoring more points because hopefully their red zone offense will be a lot better and they can convert more touchdowns when they're down there compared to last season, which were their bottom in the league. Because I feel like they actually did a half decent job of getting there, but they never really were able to like convert very well. Also, like you said, the offense will be on the field a lot more, which helps out the defense. And also helping out the defense is that they'll have better field position this time because we actually got a punter. So
Yeah, that's true too. Now we have a real punter. We got rid of Percy Harvin. That's another upgrade.
want to take a couple minutes on this new Steelers draft class that just came in. Just to recap on that, they got offensive lineman who likely will be tackle Troy Fatanu. They got Zach Frazier, the West Virginia center. They got Roman Wilson, the Michigan receiver. They got Peyton Wilson, the NC State linebacker. Then they got another guard, Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State. Logan Lee, Iowa defensive lineman, and defensive back Ryan Watts from Texas. Overall, host, what do you think of the draft and even specifically, the top 3 or 4 picks now there?
I think they did a excellent job in the draft. Omar Khan, since he's taken over last year and this year, he's put one hell of a draft together. Now, if these guys pan out and become decent players, then he's going to look like a superstar, Omar Khan, compared to Kevin Colbert. The first 2 picks are great. That line needed some more beef to it, some more better talent. Getting another tackle, getting a real center. You know how bad the center was last year, Alex. We joked around about it all season. The snaps being low, just the center getting blown off the line on run plays. So Zach Frazier here, he should be coming in and he should be a day one starter. Fontenot should be a day one starter. I like the Roman Wilson pick up as receiver. They needed a good slot receiver, and he can swing out and play out wide too. So that should be a good addition. I love the Wilson linebacker pick. I know he had a little injury history his first two seasons, but he's been pretty clean the last two. We don't know the status of Cole Holcomb. He had that awful knee injury last year. He's working hard trying to come back, but this addition of Wilson paired with possibly Patrick Queen would be a great addition on the defense. So, and I also like the other offensive lineman they picked out of North Dakota there. I forget his name, the McCormick kid. Is that him, Alex?
Yeah, Mason McCormick.
Yeah, Mason McCormick. He should be a beast. He should be a good backup. I'm glad they got him if he pans out. So they got some real bruisers in this draft. So hopefully the offensive line now will be stacked for a few years. Of course, Broderick Jones was the first pick last year. So a lot of talent now on that offensive line. Let's just hope they gel together and be able to, move the ball even better than they have last year.
Like you said, I think Zach Frazier is a really good pick because Jackson Powers Johnson was the worst at snapping the ball, and you saw the issues that caused last year.
Yep, terrible.
Seems like the toughest center out there. He kind of seems like a Steelers guy himself, not too far off from Pittsburgh, West Virginia itself. And like you said, Mason McCormick was another good pick. They're hoping he works out so they can get younger and he can replace save money, replace either James Daniels or Nate Herbig in his development. And they were surprised that Troy Fatano was even there. So that was a great value pick for them. And he can replace Danmar Jr. at tackle them. Get into a couple more random topics here. Some free agents of note, some news going around. We have Steelers eyeing a potential return of Cam Sutton. Obviously, it was with the Lions. Then he got arrest warrant, so the Lions cut him. Now he's waiting on sentencing for that, but that turned out just to be a misdemeanor, so he still could be suspended. But Steelers are kind of waiting around for that. What do you think the likelihood of Steelers getting Cam Sutton back? And what would you think of that move?
I was disappointed that they let Cam Sutton go in the first place and let him sign with the Lions as a free agent. I thought that was one of the guys they should have contained. I thought he was at a reasonable price. He fit the system well. But he got into some trouble. Detroit kind of panicked and let him go compared to what the other player that's getting in a lot of trouble here lately, Rasheed Rice for the Chiefs. It looks like I'm not saying what Cam Sutton did is anything good, but compared to what Rasheed Rice is doing, he looks like a saint. But now he's out there. He could be available. It all depends if what the price is, what Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan want to do. Bringing him back. He knows the system. He fits in well. Very curious to see if they proceed it going forward, but pending the legal issues. So we'll just see how that plays out over the summer. Maybe Cam Sutton will be back wearing black and gold.
I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening because they're familiar with him and I don't know how many other teams would want to call him, but he was pretty good with us and didn't get in any trouble. So even if it's a 1-year loaner, it could be pretty good. And I think potentially they could even get him on a 2-year. Just to be like, oh, well, prove that you're not going to get any more trouble, then you'll get another big contract somewhere. But talk about another former Steeler that's kind of getting some traction in the last couple of days. It's talked about Steelers are going to meet with their former first round pick, free agent edge rusher Bud Dupree. He's going to meet with the Steelers later this week. They did not resign Marcus Golden, um, leaving some potential for depth there. Dupree said he would have interest in, rejoining the Steelers. He's talking to a couple other teams this week as well. I think it basically just come down to price with him. He actually did have a decent 6.5 sacks, which is more than I thought he had last year. What do you think about a potential Bud Dupree return?
I think he'd be a great backup for TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith in Pittsburgh. His best years were playing with the Steelers. He signed that big contract with Tennessee, and Tennessee released him. He ended up going to Atlanta. But he'd be a great backup. He, again, knows the system, could fit right in. Knows the city. He played good when he was here, so I think that would be a good potential backup. And like you said, all depends on the price, what he's looking for. So we'll see how that plays out. Also,
Yes. There was also another one I forgot about, but we talked about it a little too. There have been kind of, hinting and this player has been hinting about potentially returning it. Terrell Edmonds was kind of poking around his interest with rejoining the Steelers as well. They kind of had a falling out a couple seasons ago, but they might be interested in a possible return there as well. Um, we'll talk about a actual signing now with Steelers signing former Falcons receiver Scotty Miller. He's a pretty good gadget guy and he could potentially return kicks and punts as well. He was actually not that bad with the 49ers, or not 49ers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he's a pretty good deep threat, and he can also be a pretty good gadget guy. Steelers now are four former Falcons on offense as well, with that being Scotty Miller, they just signed a wide receiver. Um, McCole Pruitt, the third tight end. Then they have Cordell Patterson, kick return, possible gadget guy. And then they also have Van Jefferson, another wide receiver. What do you think about all these Falcons signings?
well, a lot of it has to do with Arthur Smith taking over as offensive coordinator. All these guys know the system that he's going to implement there in Pittsburgh. So he wants some familiar guys on there so that he can those players can come in and teach the other guys the ropes, what Arthur Smith is looking for. Scotty Miller, he's a big deep threat for Tom Brady for the Tampa Bay. He got hurt. I think he got hurt a lot. I don't think he was as productive as he could have been if he could stay on the field. As you said, he runs reverses, jet sweeps, uh, you know deep ball, so he could be a pretty good addition. But again, like we said earlier, how much throwing is Arthur Smith going to do? Let's not forget about George Pickens. Got to get him the ball. So I'm curious to see what kind of usage all these players get in Arthur Smith's offense.
Yeah, I think they are collecting a lot of guys that are good at catching deep balls because Russell Wilson likes to throw a lot of deep balls, and he's good at that. Like they also got Quez Watkins earlier in the season or off season as well, and he's pretty good at deep balls too. Um, Allegedly, he kind of has drop problems, and Scotty Miller's more reliable than him. But they're either getting guys that can block good or catch deep balls or do both or potentially gadget guys too. So um they're still potentially in the market for a big another big target receiver as well. So we'll keep on that going forward. Um Second to last, we've had some rumors about Najee Harris, who still didn't pick up his 5th-year option, potentially trying to work out a longer term deal with that's at least longer than 1 year, potentially like a 2-year deal. So that was like a week or two ago. They didn't pick up his option. Then there's rumors about, I think unfounded rumors about Cowboys were interested in him, but then his agent kind of shut those down. And then also there was rumors about that he requested them not pick up his fifth option, but his agent shut those down as well. What do you think about Najee Harris going forward?
Don't you think it's kind of strange, Alex, that his agent had to come out and speak for him? Why did Najee Harris come out and say what's going on? If it was really not true, why didn't Najee Harris go to social media and post something? You know how all these guys, when there's rumors flying around, they post something on social media and laughing emojis and all this stuff. Not a peep out of Najee Harris. Strange how his agent had to come out and say something for him. I don't. To me, if your agent's speaking for you, that's him trying to calm the waters down because what may be going around could be possibly true. I like it when the player comes back and says something that's not true, but when the agent's doing it, sounds like to me he's putting out the flames of what possibly could be some news out there. I think Najee Harris is upset. I really do. I think he's upset they didn't pick up his fifth-year option. I don't think he said not to pick up his fifth-year option. I just think he's upset that they did pick up his fifth-year option. It was only 6.7 million. The going rate for these guys out on the market. Saquon Barkley got 10 million a year. I think Joe Mixon got 8 or 9 million a year. The guy Swift, he's got 8 or 9 million a year. So the going rate for these guys is around 10. Derrick Henry just got 10, 11 from Baltimore. So the going rate for a top running back seems to be, close to 10 million. 6.7 million to pick up for a fifth-year option would have been pretty cheap. So the other thing that tells me, Alex, is that I think the Steelers really like Jaylen Warren. I think they're going to give him the contract extension after this year because he's a 4-year contract. He doesn't have that fifth-year option because he wasn't a first-round pick. I think the Steelers really like Jaylen Warren. I think they like his running style. I think that more fits what Arthur Smith wants to do. Uh, Najee Harris, this doesn't seem like he's fast enough. Does he run hard? Absolutely. But I don't think that's the style that Arthur Smith is going to go with. So I think moving forward after this season, I think Najee Harris is going to play hard so that he, goes out and be able to get a bigger contract in free agency next season. But I think the Steelers are going to keep Warren as their primary running back.
Yeah, I could see them moving on from Najee Harris, especially because they also signed two undrafted free agent running backs, one from Georgia and one from West Virginia, and they're always looking to get cheaper at that position as well. I wasn't too mad that they didn't pick up his option, and I think there's still potential they could sign him to like a two-year deal as well. But we'll just have to see how that situation progresses throughout this off season and into the season. Lastly, we'll wrap it up with, well, first of all, Steelers signed I think pretty much all of their undrafted free agents, which was, well, at least some of them. Beanie Bishop, who could potentially be their starting slot corner come the season. Deshaun Edwards, the Georgia running back. John Rhys Plumlee, who could be a kind of gadget quarterback, kind of like a Taysom Hill, and Jacoby Wyndham, linebacker from Michigan State. That kind of goes into our wrap up, which is that the 2024 rookie minicamp is this weekend. So all the players reported yesterday. It's going on throughout this weekend. Some of the guys that are there, obviously, all their first round, their draft picks, Roman Wilson, their undrafted quarterback John Rhys Plumlee, Ryan Watts is there, Beanie Bishop, Sean Edwards, the Georgia running back, Peyton Wilson, Zach Frazier's obviously there, Mason McCormick, Logan Lee, Troy Fatano. They have some interesting tryouts as well, including the former Ravens cornerback Anthony Averett is trying out this weekend to possibly make the roster going into training camp. They have a couple other guys as well, like Cole Dowell. He's kind of a gadget quarterback as well. They have a couple other receivers. One from Duquesne, and also they have the former Pitt Boston College quarterback who's kind of trying to convert into tight end, Phil Justakovic as well. What are you thinking about looking at going into minicamp host?
I just hope that no one gets hurt, and I hope that all these guys they picked up, maybe they'll see something in all these on these these free agent rookie guys. Hopefully, maybe some of these guys gel in the camp and they stick out, because those are the guys that what you're getting with your first 3 or 4 picks. These guys that you signed to these little contracts that you're inviting to all these camps. These are the gems you can find in, that excel in these practices, and that may translate into, game day performance by these guys. So this is the time where hopefully these guys, they get into camp, they look good, they impress the coaching staff, and it's just a hidden gem that can come out and produce and be, somewhat of a star for the team.
Uh, Also, they're bringing in former Titans running back Jonathan Ward, who's pretty good at um, blocking tight end as well. I forgot to mention him, but just keep an eye on any news that comes out of rookie camp going through the weekend host. All right, that about wraps up this um, inaugural episode of the host of the Steelers with the host. Host, do you have any final thoughts on the Steelers offseason so far?
No, it's been going better than I thought it would. Just can't wait to see what develops in the upcoming camps and practices for these guys, and mini camps and mandatory mini camp. A rookie camp is going on right now. So we'll just see how these players develop, and hopefully they can put another decent team on the field.
All right, like I said, that about wraps up our episode. Check the host out at SteelDF72 on Twitter, and stay tuned for more podcast episodes in the coming weeks. We'll probably do one end of next week once they release the NFL schedule.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Go Steelers.